use your chat. We want to hear from you, so use it as much as possible since we can't hear your voice. We want to see your words. If you're on Facebook Live, please make sure to share this as much as possible. We want everybody to see this, so please feel free to share this on your profile. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. So why don't you, if you have your chat open and available, let us know if you were at that city council meeting last week. Man, that was powerful. And also let us know something that's brought you joy over the past day or week in the chat. Let's see. What do we got? Was anyone at the city council meeting last week? Yeah, it was only a week ago, April. Can you believe it? Helen was watching. Seeing more and more charges dropped or getting dropped around the country has brought you a lot of joy. Awesome. True that. It's that COVID life, Heather. Can't keep track of the weeks. It's that COVID life. So tell me something that's brought you joy over the past week or day. Chelsea said it was definitely powerful. Lily said, hello, dropping charges has brought me joy too. Plus beautiful weather. Truth. Snaps to that. This weather has been awesome. Thank you, Patricia, for dropping that in the chat. Anyone want to share what's brought them joy? The weather has brought me joy. Somebody just mentioned a chai tea latte. That would bring me joy if I had one. Chamomile tea, mac and cheese. Girl, that is joy in your belly. The weather is where it's kitty cuddles. Aw. I went to see some art yesterday. I think I actually saw something created by Chelsea. What? That's cool. That's really cool. You have to share more about that, Jisoo. I seriously love seeing you all this week. Well, feeling is quite mutual, April. Boom, 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 boom. My friends and I thought it was really cool. That's awesome. You'll have to share more about that later, Jisoo. We have a couple of minutes. We're giving folks time to join in. So yeah, if anybody else wants to share some things that have brought them joy, that would be very, very much appreciated. Being able to walk and pick my dogs up after having surgery. Oh, I hope you're doing well, Petra.
I have a question. Does everybody know who the little white guy wearing the tie is in the picture we have up right now? Put in the chat. Ria's circling it right there. Who is that white dude? Why is he on this flyer?
Look at Joe's joy is a carne asada, cooking with a pot of beans, rice, and some tortillas. Yes, please. That sounds yummy. Zara said Ed Zerker. Is that true?
That's him. That's our infamous city manager. Not for long. We're getting his job.
All right, well, it's 6:05, and for the sake of time and our beautifully packed agenda, we are going to push forward. So I thank you all very much for being here for our fourth Politically Charged Monday. We've seen so much already of this series, but now this one is about the horrible misconduct. Our communities have experienced this forever. It does feel good to see stories on mainstream news and that's for sure, but we appreciate Dave Biscobing for reporting this, for revealing for all of the world now that PPD and MCAO are corrupt, they're violent liars. We've always known it and experienced it to be that way, but now the world knows. We'll even see tonight how far they go to instill fear in people so that no one speaks out against them ever. We saw their pathetic, absurd gang charges put on blast. We saw the evidence of PPD targeting Bruce and Jamar in an attempt to silence them and stop their work for Black liberation. But thank God that the community was surrounding them with our love and our power, and we came together to demand justice for them. Also, Alistair Adele was finally forced to drop false charges from the 1017 as well. and she said that they can't move forward on some of them ethically and legally. Well, it's kind of a big deal. It's actually really a big deal that happened. But please understand that they only dropped these charges because they were put on blast by Dave. And then the community continued to stay focused and pressure them until we finally they begrudgingly did what they were supposed to do in the first place, which is the right thing. And so it's really a big, huge win for sure. And we need to keep pushing for accountability. We appreciate you so much for your support in this massively important work. This is truly historic. And if you haven't felt it yet, I want you to take a second now and feel the power that you wield and all the power that we have used to change the game for a lot of folks that were falsely accused of ridiculously heinous crimes that they had nothing to do with. So I hope you all know it's because of you. And we need to keep moving and keep showing up and demanding justice and to end all political prosecutions. The police department and NCAO are completely out of control. I mean, they've proven that we can't gather in opposition of the murder of Black men by the hands of police without being arrested. They continue to show us that we can't care about Black lives without being accused of being gang members, which is so ridiculous. It all has to stop now, we know it. There's a quote from W.E.B. Du Bois that said, "Power never cedes itself without a demand." And that's why we're organizing and we're pushing our 9 demands in the city via our citizens petitions. Please drop in the chat and let us know if your calendar is marked for March 17th at 10 a.m. Patricia, what's that?
Oh, come on. This is going to be a good day. So I hope it's okay to name drop our resident lawyer on the call tonight that's going to be chatting with us later. Heather Hamill wrote that freaking citizens petition for us, which is like the longest, most lawyerly document you've ever seen. And we have 9 incredible demands that regular English speakers can understand at the bottom of the document. And those 9 demands, we are calling for justice. We are demanding that Ed be fired. He's the city manager, not for long. We want Chief Jerry's job. We demand she is fired. We demand all prosecutors, which would include Alistair Adele, right? We want her fired. We want Nick. We want April. We want every prosecutor that touched any of these cases to be fired. And we will talk about later why at Mass Lib we're not demanding that they be charged and prosecuted, because we don't believe caging anyone is ever a solution to harm. They cause great harm. They broke laws, so they technically committed a crime, but we're not asking to charge or imprison them because we know that's not a solution. What a solution is to just destroy the offices that are causing this harm to our community. So that's what we're after. That's what we're doing. And those demands, we're also calling for the tactical, what is it? Rescue unit? What is it called? The response unit. Thank you. We want them disbanded. We want the City of Phoenix PD investigated truly independently, which is just a very small step in the right direction, because we know that it's very historically difficult to hold them accountable, but that's what we are building power to do.
True that, Patricia. Thank you so much for jumping in. We're about to jump into our first video. I just want to let you know it's chilling, not just because of the physical violence, but because it's scary to see how blatantly the police lie, how determined they are to lie. And even though we have apparent strategies in place to hold them accountable, we'll see that one of the officers just covers up his body cam so he can make up whatever story he chooses to make at that moment. It makes my stomach sick, but it's really important that we watch it, understand it, experience it, feel it, because this is what fuels us to continue this movement and this work. Black, brown, and indigenous people have been targeted since policing evolved from slave catching, and now the rest of the world is finally has an inside view on what marginalized communities have known and experienced all along. Deep breath for that one. We are together in this safe space to hold each other as we get through this toxic, deep spread of deceit and violence that PPD and MCAO and their sick miscarriage of extreme justice. So Ria, if you're ready for this garbage and this disgusting mess, can you please cue it up for us?
For weeks, our politically charged investigation has shown you how Phoenix Police and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office conspired, exaggerated, and lied to arrest and politically prosecute police protesters. You may think that might not happen to you because you haven't taken part in a protest.
Well, neither did Ryder Collins, a nurse, arrested and charged as if he was a gang member just because he was taking pictures in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
It was only after ABC 15 showed you the evidence of exaggerations and outright lies police and prosecutors used against him that all charges against him were finally dropped. But for 4 months, Collins faced a possible prison sentence of 32 years.
And new video obtained by ABC 15 investigator Dave Biskobing reveals just how flimsy the case against Collins was and how little Phoenix police and the county attorney's office cared about getting the facts right before turning someone's life upside down.
We told you the case against Ryder Collins had problems.
This is like bad.
He's not a gang member. He didn't riot. He didn't assault officers. But he would face those charges for 4 months until our investigation revealed the exaggerations and lies in the case.
It's terrible. I wish they would be more thorough. How can they not be more thorough with that kind of thing?
We obtained new video from that night, video of Ryder's arrest and Phoenix cops who degrade him. But before we show you more, know this. While shooting photography in Phoenix on October 17th, Ryder stumbled upon the protest. This is video of him, taken by 2 counter-protesters called the AZ Patriots. They're extremists who were taunting the group and cheering police. During the arrests, Ryder is across the street, standing near the women. Now to Ryder's actual arrest. Officers find him down the street.
I didn't know this was a thing until about 30 minutes ago.
You can hear, right? You heard my commands.
I did, and I turned around.
So you can hear them tell you need to leave, and you chose not to, so you're going to jail. You done win them prizes.
The voice you just heard is Officer Herr. You'll hear more from him, but first, let's replay that.
You done win them prizes.
When it comes to prizes and Officer Herr, he's one of the officers who kept this prize to sell, share, and celebrate shooting a protester in the groin with a pepper ball in 2017.
I mean, what's it been like facing, felony charges?
I feel like my world got about this big, and immediately I just wanted to run and hide. I spent the night in jail that night, and when I got out, I just wanted to run and hide I just wanted to be home with my wife. I worked my butt off to go to nursing school, and I got straight A's in nursing school, and it just felt like all this was going to be taken away for something ridiculous, it was just by some weird chance that I was there.
Again, there to shoot photography of the buildings.
Put your hand down, you're fine.
Okay.
If you punch us, we're going to thump you. I'm just telling you right now.
Fair enough. Hey, can I just...
During his arrest, Ryder asked officers to be careful with his camera gear.
Awful demanding for somebody being part of a riot.
Okay.
And this one goes in the center here?
It will, yes, thank you. I didn't mean any trouble, guys, I'm sorry. We don't have anything like this in Prescott, and I was out
There's a reason for that, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, maybe you should have stayed there. Put your feet in.
I apologize.
Now you get to visit 4th Avenue Jail.
I just was depressed. I'm still kind of depressed, and I just didn't want to interact with anybody. I just wanted to crawl in a cave and not come out. That's how it felt.
Here's video of officers filling out his booking form and probable cause statement.
I'm kind of wondering, because this guy wasn't with the group when they hindered, so I don't know if we can charge him with it.
One raises some doubt. The other then meets his body camera. To the grand jury, 2 officers and the prosecutor provided clearly false testimony, saying Ryder actually ran up on officers and tried to impede their arrests. And to get the gang charges, they testified he was in and around the group throughout the entire night, working in concert with them.
I came down here from Prescott, and I was doing street photography, and then I saw this popping off.
Yeah.
But video from the, quote, Patriots clearly proves those statements aren't true. He was near the women, nowhere near the group during the arrests. And Ryder wonders why the women weren't arrested too.
Oh, hell yeah.
I kind of thought if I was on the street with the lady filming the video that I asked what was going on, and I was screaming,
yeah,
antagonizing the protesters or the group of people,
You've been cool.
then I wouldn't have been arrested.
Patriot girls, were they in the street too?
They were out here in the roadway.
So we can take
Anything from the park all the way over here?
You want them?
I told them they need to get out of here, but...
Well, as soon as we told them to get out of the street, they vacated.
Oh, okay.
As a reminder, one of these, quote, Patriots was facing identity theft charges. Then, less than 3 weeks later, breached the vote counting building after the election. She wasn't arrested then either. So don't tell Ryder the criminal justice system, especially in protest cases, is just or fair.
I'm sure it's ruined other lives, and then they're attempting to ruin mine, and it's just not right.
I'm investigator Dave Biskobing, ABC 15, Arizona.
Collins' case was the only one that was dismissed with prejudice, so that means it is done for good. The other protesters could still face new charges, but that seems unlikely, at least at any time soon. Now, Phoenix Police and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office are both under outside investigation because of our reports. And you can watch our full politically charged investigation right now at abc15.com/protest.
What in the heck is even happening? This just feels like too much. Are you all okay? Please drop in the chat and let us know how you're feeling, how you're doing. This is too much. And this is a white guy. You can imagine what PPD does every time to a Black person or a brown person they interact with. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ria. Anyone else want to share how they're feeling right now after what that garbage we just saw? It's not garbage, it was beautiful reporting, but the content itself is just trash. Especially when no one was around, like in the protest. Absolutely, that was super stressful. I am agreeing with you, Khaleesi. Just disgusting having to hear pigs talk. I'm not laughing at your comment, GC. I'm laughing in solidarity. The way they speak to people, the rudeness, there's no reason for them to be so aggressive. And like, it feels like high school cafeteria bullying. It doesn't make any sense why they need to speak to citizens that way. I mean, the guy was being very patient. He was being very understanding. He was moving slow, and they were talking to him like he was, trash beneath the trash. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, their need to feel power at all times is disgusting. It's absolute power and control. You're right, April. It just proves that it doesn't matter how much you comply. Yeah, that's right. They want you and they're going to get you. He was down the street. He was clearly with a bunch of other people that didn't get arrested on the second occasion that were also in the same area in the vicinity, and they chose not to arrest them. He felt safer around them, and then they targeted him and they ran after him. And you're right, he's a white man, clearly tall, skinny white man, and they targeted him too because he could have been involved, or they wanted his ass, basically. They were quick to defend the Patriot Girls. That's right. And they didn't vacate. They were sitting there right when everybody was being arrested. They were still saying, hell yeah. So they were clearly in the vicinity and still taunting. All right. Here goes the right on her soapbox. So let's talk a little. Patricia, what does this mean for everyday people? Because I know many folks think this issue doesn't affect me, but I don't protest. If they don't protest, they certainly don't riot. So they have nothing to worry about, right?
Right. So I think, everyone that follows Mass Lib knows how much we care about the narrative that folks believe and about shifting that narrative. And we heard Ryder Collin, that nurse, say, gosh, I just wish the MCAO would be more thorough in their investigation. And that's an easy concept to have, especially as a white man who's never been affected likely by the law before, who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it is interesting to note, did the police, are they like best friends with these Patriot women? That woman, Jennifer Harrison, she was arrested for her identity theft. She was seen at the recorder's office, not arrested. So did they have personal relationship with them and know them? I mean, that's conjecture, but it's very interesting that they went for the white guy who is not in the Patriot movement and just let those two little ladies march their pants on home. So it's really important that we know deeply in our bones and talk about to anyone who will listen. And even if they're walking away, we keep talking, that this is not a mistake. This is not about incorrect information. This is not about the MCAO being overwhelmed or getting it wrong. This is absolutely on purpose, and they're doing it to intimidate and silence folks who dare to speak out against the police and against the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. So Ryder Collins was a victim of their political prosecution. I mean, he was literally facing 32 years in prison for being there taking pictures of what the police was doing to these protesters. And then you hear, like Zoraida and everyone has pointed out, the level of disrespect that the officers have when they're dealing with them. And that's all on camera. And thank God he was a white guy, because even though they were very rude and disrespectful, they weren't violent with him, physically violent. And then we get to the part when the police are in the office and one of the cops says, oh, you know what? I don't think we can even charge this guy. And then the other officer, with the only accountability we have, right, body cam, covers it up so we can't hear or see what is being said. Okay, that's something that is caught on news now for the world to see, but we need to think about how many times in the history of policing, just in the Phoenix Police, has that happened, and how many folks have been locked in a cage for decades because they don't have the blessing of mass liberation and all of our organizations that work with us pushing for this justice, and Dave Biscobing, who's on a mission to get this news out there. It's staggering and really frightening to think about that, but it's something that we need to point out because it's now being, you know, broadcast widely for everyone to see. So the idea, and we have George Hare, or her, however you say that cop's name, who said, you know, do dumb SHIT and get dumb prizes. And I just wonder, was he so hell-bent on arresting this guy because we know that he was celebrating the targeting and harm of protesters at the earlier protests? So it just seems like the violence perpetuates itself, and these same officers again and again and again are doing this type of thing. And that's where we could think, oh yeah, well, it is bad apples. Let's charge or prosecute them. Again, we'll never ask for that. That's not a solution. We know that the officer that brought up, geez, maybe we shouldn't charge this guy, he's silent and the charges stick. So even if someone has the audacity to speak out on the police force, they very quickly know they better fall into place and just go with the flow. This is the culture of Phoenix Police Department. It's built on oppressing and attacking Black folks and anyone that happens to be in the vicinity that looks like they're in support of Black leadership.
Yeah, Patricia, it reminds me when you said that about them dropping the charges, they knew that Jamar also was not the person they were looking for and still held him, you know, in custody and tried to push those charges through court. So what is it that happened in court this time?
Okay, so I think it was last Monday, but again, my days, no, it was last Monday when we had Jamar on, yeah, and we saw both of his, thank you, videos. Officer Barrios did not lie under oath. He told the truth, answering the questions, the very targeted, specific questions that were asked to him. Were you told that Jamar Williams did X, Y, and Z? So he answered everything honestly. However, they were all lies. We know Jamar wasn't the guy that did it. And so technically he didn't perjure himself. However, the officer in this case, absolutely every single quote we saw there in print was a lie. We have video evidence proving Ryder Collin was not with the protesters. And you hear all of the cops, I think it's 4 times in the video, they refer to those 17 folks walking down the street with umbrellas as rioters. He said, well, you're involved in a riot, you're going to jail. They're calling it a riot. So I think the toxic culture is so pervasive that they really believe it themselves. And they're calling people walking down the street chanting Black Lives Matter a riot. So that's pretty disturbing. And I want to ask you, Heather, actually, is there a way, I mean, we see the video now, this cop literally lied under oath. Is there recourse? What happens now that this news is out?
I mean, what should happen is he should be, what should happen is he shouldn't have a job anymore. If you are a police officer and you are caught lying under oath to prosecute someone, you should no longer have a job. I don't know if he's going to lose his job. At the very least, what should happen, or in addition to that, is he should be put on the Brady list, which is a list of problem cops, cops who have issues with credibility and dishonesty. And that is a major blow in criminal cases. So ultimately being placed on the Brady list means a lot for a cop and their advancement in their careers, but he should be fired, or at the very least, he should be placed on the Brady list.
Can I ask a follow-up question, Heather? Who, and in case people weren't here last week, who puts people on the Brady list? Who's in charge of that?
I mean, so it depends on what Brady list we're talking about. Every law enforcement agency has their like own version of it. MCAO has their own version. The county attorney's office has their own version of a Brady list. So they keep track of, here are officers who have credibility issues based on prior acts of dishonesty or based on like prior acts of misconduct.
Thank you.
And I want to plug one thing because you know that's my life. Next Wednesday, friends, the 10th at 9 a.m., the Brady list is going to be on the agenda at the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee meeting at 9 a.m. So you all will be getting email details on how to show up and support us with that. But yeah, it's a big deal because I don't know if you remember, but it was Felda who was like, what's the Brady list about, guys? Like she had no idea whatsoever. So they're going to try to educate her a little bit on what that is. Maybe we can show up and help. And now I'll pass it back to you, Zoraida, but mark your calendars, friends.
Well, I have another question for you, Patricia. I hope you don't mind, or I'm not putting you on the spot, but what can we really do about what we've seen in this particular video so far? It seems like such a big battle with such a giant opponent. What is it that we can do about it?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office looks powerful, right? We know they're very wealthy. We know they're very practiced in their lies, in their violence. And you always hear Lola say, you know, cops kill us in the streets, but prosecutors kill us with their pens, because they wanted to put Ryder Collin, a little string bean nurse from Prescott, in prison for 32 years for showing up at a riot, okay, at a protest. So what we really need to do is keep shifting the narrative. We need to bring a person to the next politically charged Monday. We need to share the call to action with our friend and our neighbor and our coworker so that we can expand the web of folks that truly understand this is not about bad apple cops. It's not about mistakes or clerical errors in MCAO. It's truly about white supremacy and everything they are doing to oppress and harm folks that stand in the way of them losing even a trace of their power. We see that in their behavior, their demeanor, their actions. The whole system is literally built to do that. And our work is to, one, realize it, two, to tell every single person we know about it, and three, bring them with us as we push back and make our demands to dismantle and transform this system. No big deal.
Does anyone, any of our friends that are here with us, have any questions about what we just saw and what Patricia and Heather just shared before we move forward? No pressure. I'm just looking at the chat now. So if we don't see activity, then let's charge forward, folks. All right, so we're going to see the next video that shows us. Oh, wait, did something pop up, Patricia? Are we going to get a reminder about the 17th? Jonah asked. And the look on Patricia's face is like, hell yeah, you're going to get a reminder.
Of course, you're going to get 27 reminders. Don't worry, Jonah. We got you.
Do they even know you, Patricia? All right. So the next video that we're going to see is showing us that MCAO only do what's right for one reason, that's because their lies have been revealed publicly. And we even see that it was a struggle for them. We'll hear a bit about how the first responders, Bureau and April's Sponsel, I hope I'm saying her name right, the infamous and diabolical award-winning prosecutor. So let's hang in there, friends. Take care of yourselves here. We're going to watch the second video, and then we'll chat about it after. If anything really stands out for you, or you have any questions or comments, please share those in the chat. It's really important that we're talking about all of this to each other. So yeah, this one's called What Did Alistair Know About the Big Protest Gang Charges? So Rhea, if you could go ahead and put this one up for us.
And we begin tonight with breaking developments in our politically charged investigation.
For the past 3 weeks, we've been showing you how Phoenix Police and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office charged a group of police protesters as if they were members of a gang. After our reporting, the head of the Maricopa County Attorney's Office announced those charges were dropped.
And tonight, County Attorney Alistair Adel announcing an outside review will be conducted surrounding her own office's handling of this investigation, saying in a statement they could have done better. This major development coming just hours after we reached out with new questions, adding to a list she still won't answer in an interview, refusing to speak on camera with ABC 15. But what she said to other media outlets now raising even more questions. Here's investigator Dave Biskobing breaking down what she said to them and how it compares with what police said the night of those arrests.
I know it's cliche, but it's accurate here. What did Alistair Adel know, and when did she know it? In a statement last week, the county attorney says the case wasn't properly vetted by leadership, and she distanced herself from the gang charges. But these gang charges didn't happen in a vacuum. We have proof showing there was coordination between MCAO and Phoenix Police in this case. So in addition to the news interviews, this is a story about two timelines. First, we're going to show you a timeline of the arrest that night. And then second, a timeline surrounding Alistair Adel and her brain surgery.
For almost 4 months, Phoenix Police and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office claimed this group of protesters was a criminal street gang. And this is the moment officers moved in to arrest them. It's 8:35 p.m. Just 26 minutes later, before the group is officially booked or charged, police radio traffic captures this at 9:01 p.m.
I got some specific instructions for you from April Sponsel at the County Attorney's Office. So let's just make sure we touch base once we're inside. Yeah, we'll talk when we get into the briefing room.
April Sponsel is a veteran prosecutor in the First Responders Bureau. It's a special unit created by Alistair Adel to prosecute crimes against first responders. It's the unit that's handling all major protest cases in 2020. And Sponsel is an award-winning prosecutor. She previously worked in the gang unit. She also set up and runs an MCAO program to train police how to testify. Then 11 p.m. that night, there's more radio traffic.
All right, everybody doing a booking. We just reconsulted with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Everyone needs to add 1 count of riot.
Phoenix police were ready for this protest. It was announced in a flyer on social media. Officers had a briefing hours before it happened. Records show they created their police report for the incident 8 hours before the arrest at 12:29 p.m.
So again, this wasn't just some junior deputy county attorney. She was handpicked in the county attorney's new special unit. So let's get into the timeline with Alistair Adel, the charges, and her brain injury.
We requested an interview with the county attorney on Thursday. The next day, Adel set up and sat down with 12 News and AZ Family. We'll break down the 12 News interview. It was more specific.
Were you involved in the original charging decisions in those cases?
Not exactly. So one of it has to do with timing. As you know, it was late October, early November that I was going through some of the physical ailments. And I knew that these cases were coming, and I had a snippet of information.
Here's the timeline about the case and Adel's brain surgery. October 17th, the group is arrested. On October 25th, Adel trips and hits her head. Her office says she's still able to work and was working. October 27th, the case is sent to the grand jury. October 30th, ABC 15 reports the gang charges for the first time. November 3rd, election night. Adel's hospitalized and undergoes surgery to stop a brain bleed. Now, Phoenix Police and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office labeled the group a gang called ACAB because they chanted, "All cops are bastards," wore mostly black, and carried umbrellas. To the grand jury, they compared them to the Bloods, Crips, and Hells Angels. Now, to add to the timeline, Adel told 12 News and AZ Family she began returning to work in a partial escalating capacity back in late November. February 4th, we launched Politically Charged. On February 12th, the county attorney dismissed the cases in a late-night announcement. Then February 15th, Adel releases a statement saying the case wasn't properly reviewed by a team of seasoned prosecutors before the gang charges were sought.
Once I came back, I made sure that we set a meeting so that I got a full briefing on all the evidence that came in. And that's when I made those decisions. I made my decision that at this time we needed to take a closer look at those cases, and some of them we can't move forward with ethically or legally.
Now, we're still investigating to what degree the county attorney was specifically informed about the gang charges and when. These interviews still don't answer all of those questions, so we've reached out for our own interview again. I'm investigator Dave Biskobing. ABC 15, Arizona.
Even though Adele sat down for 2 interviews this weekend, just seconds after announcing the outside investigation, her spokesperson, Jennifer Lewer, wrote Dave an email saying Adele would not do an interview with him until this just announced investigation is over. ABC 15's commitment is to hold our leaders accountable, and we plan to interview the county attorney at her next public appearance.
The lies you tell, brother. Seriously. Did anybody see that sign behind it that says do what's right, not what's easy? Unbelievable. Patricia, can you help me, please? I feel like we need to take a couple of breaths, but can you help me like discharge this mess off of my spirit? Can everyone just join me? I'm going to give everyone about a minute to just breathe quietly, do something to settle your soul. I'm going to take a little pause right now. I feel like part of my tension, y'all, is that it's just so hard to see how easily these people lie when they know that lives are literally on the line and they have no regard for our safety or humanity in general. Can you dive a little deeper, Patricia, into what are you ready to dive a little deeper into what we just saw? Because if we were listening to the interview, it looks like Alistair is doing a wonderful job, even after a serious injury.
Right, so we have this nice little white lady sitting there, you know, her head is shaved. She had a traumatic brain injury she could have died from. That is very serious. She is using that now as her excuse as to how these charges move through her office. And you can see in her little interview, and she says, not exactly. And she had a snippet of info and all that trash. Like she's trying to step back away from the fact that she okayed this, and April Sponsel is in charge of the First Responders Bureau. And something that can easily be glossed over, that bureau was created for crimes against first responders, okay? So how is it that the protests, that's a crime against a first responder? Like, it's just very interesting, their view and how they're seeing what's going on. They're being charged that way. And April's coming in here, who her husband is a DPS officer. She's in charge of that. She trains police on how to testify. So it's all just this pretty twisted little web of deceit and really evilness. And if you stand back away from what we've all been brainwashed about our entire lives, and we literally have been calling this justice, like this is justice, all they're doing is making sure that they maintain power and everybody else be silenced, whether PPD is murdering them or MCAO is making sure they get locked away for 3 decades plus, okay? It's a really big deal and it's super scary. And we wanna make sure that everybody is aware of that and shares about it. And then something else that is very telling and is literally on camera, we have the officers there saying, hey, we just heard from at 9 o'clock, we just heard from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, make sure you all add 1 count of riot. That's
and they said her name too, Patricia. They said April's name.
They did say April. Okay, thank you. So I want to turn it over to our resident lawyer for a little, for her perspective on what the hell that is all about. Why a prosecutor who was not at these protests knows what charges should be added. That sounds just.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to note that that is a phone call that should never have been made. And that is a role that a prosecutor does not take. Prosecutors, there's supposed to be these very clear boundaries between police officers and prosecutors. And as a matter of fact, so much so, I'm going to get into the weeds slightly, but prosecutors, we've all heard about qualified immunity, which police officers have for misconduct they engage in on the job. Prosecutors, as long as they're acting in the prosecutorial role, are supposed to have absolute immunity. And it's this thing that protects them absolutely from any misconduct on the roll, except when they step out of that role. And when they step out of the role of prosecutor and step into the role of cop, then they lose their absolute immunity and are entitled to only qualified immunity, which is a huge deal in the prosecutorial world, which actually just signifies how big of a deal it was for April to step outside of her role as prosecutor and move into the role of cop. Like, that's not something she's ever supposed to be doing, which just speaks to the level of collusion that was going on between PPD and MCAO, how abnormal that collusion is supposed to be. I mean, we know this happens all the time. We don't always get it on camera. But she went like way outside the bounds of how she's supposed to be behaving and how she's supposed to be acting.
And she's caught on camera. That's kind of a big deal, right? That's kind of like a OFUCK on her end, right?
Yep.
Well, the lies you tell, they all come back in the light eventually. So thank you, Heather, and thank you, Patricia. So we're almost done for the night, I promise. This is the last piece that shows the understandably, at this point, salty Dave just trying to get an answer out of a very evasive city manager by the name of Ed Zerker. His demeanor, him meaning Ed, our evasive city manager for City of Phoenix, his demeanor and his understanding of the issue shows just how very little he cares about what's happening to people who are working for justice. Has anyone actually seen this yet? Because this one's really going to piss you off. Just a friendly reminder that mass liberation, family, to please keep breathing. And I know that we've always tell you to channel all your righteous anger and rage, towards each other so that we can hold on to each other in this space, but please just be ready because this is really going to piss you off. So Rhea, if you can, piss all our friends off real quick and play that next video.
But we begin tonight with breaking news in our politically charged investigation. The City of Phoenix telling ABC 15 they're expanding the outside investigation into the Phoenix Police Department.
Before, the investigation run by an outside law firm was only looking into a challenge coin officers made to celebrate shooting a protester in the groin. Now, the investigation will also look into the role officers played in charging a group of protesters as a criminal street gang. The decision to expand the case was a direct result of the interview you're about to see.
ABC 15 investigator Dave Biscobing going one-on-one with city manager Ed Zerker. During that interview, Dave asked, why isn't the city doing more to address the widespread problems our politically charged investigation exposed?
There's a lot that's happened. It's not good. Should we even be at this point?
What point?
The point where there needed to be an outside investigation that, the coin wasn't looked into, that we're here having to discuss it.
Sure. Well, ideally, of course, no, you never want to have investigations of your police department or any of your employees. But, you raise some important points in your reporting that are important to follow up, the issues of the challenge coin and the speech.
3 weeks ago, our investigation exposed that after a 2017 protest where this happened, Phoenix officers kept this coin to celebrate, and the speech on the coin is concerning. There are ties to hate speech by the far right and the far left, and you can see what side the coin picked. Our investigation also exposed the department knew, and Chief Jerry Williams was specifically shown the coin and questioned about it as part of a lawsuit.
This coin, right, the chief was shown it in 2019, pictures of it, she was deposed it, nothing happened. I mean, you're her boss. Is that acceptable?
Well, that's why I have the outside investigation happening, so that I can get the facts surrounding what happened and why, what's the timing, where was the information flow, where did it fall short, and then make decisions based on that information and based on those facts.
Okay, but she knew, so nothing happened. That's why we're here. Does that concern you?
I'm concerned to understand the full context of what happened. I'm concerned with the coins. I'm concerned with the speech on the coins. That's why I brought Ballard Spahr in to do that review.
Again, Chief Jerry Williams answers directly to the city manager. He's her boss. She didn't act until we exposed the coin for the world to see.
What kind of trust can you have in the chief and the police department that that's what it requires to get here?
Well, I have total trust in the chief because the chief is the change agent for the department. I brought her in specifically for that.
Zerker's been the city manager for 7 years and an assistant city manager for years before that. Williams has been the chief for almost 5 years. And yet, the police department is facing a public trust crisis that's only growing. Record numbers of shootings in recent years, 100 cops on the Brady list, the challenge coin. The city manager himself admitted in a previous statement that Phoenix police have deep-rooted problems, but this outside investigation is only into the coin. Our politically charged investigation has exposed so much more, including Phoenix police and MCAO working together to label a group of umbrella-carrying protesters as a criminal street gang. Phoenix officers testified they were like the Bloods, Crips, and Hells Angels.
How do you feel about that? I mean, that's a huge decision. It's an embarrassing decision looking back on it in retrospect.
Well, I think it illustrates why I think the county attorney is doing a review and an investigation, and we're going to follow up on that when we get that information with investigating our side of that as well. It is concerning. We do have to be, very careful and clear about people's constitutional rights.
In response to our reports, the county attorney's office also launched an outside investigation.
I would like to get the information from the county attorney on that.
So that's very passive, though. You're going to rely on some open-ended investigation from an outside agency that may not even be interested in fully admitting what happened, and then you are going to act on that at some point in the future. Why can't you look into it now?
I don't think it's passive at all. I think it's getting the information from people it's people staying in their lane. The county attorney has a lane that she's going to fill.
Your officers lied to the grand jury.
And
Your
our officers, if they did that, they're going to be reviewed for that. They're going to get investigated for that.
Well, why not start that now?
I want to get all the information so that we can do a thorough review of it.
So those officers will get a nice free pass 4 months until we wait for the county attorney to turn over what they might turn over?
If there's information that we have that any of our officers are lying in something, we'll investigate that.
I presented plenty of it in black and white documents on my newscast, so I'm surprised that you guys haven't already started investigations, to be quite honest with you.
Well, the chief is investigating a variety of things, but as I said, we want to get the information from the prosecutors, from the county attorney, and we'll pursue our side as well.
Zerker says he believes Phoenix police can effectively police themselves. But since our reports, there's been a growing call for the Department of Justice to step in. That's coming from some city council members and some state lawmakers with districts in the city.
Has the DOJ contacted Phoenix at all, or the FBI, about this?
No, they've not contacted me.
What if they do? Would you welcome that?
Yes. Well, I'm not afraid of any, and the chief is not afraid either. We're not afraid of outside scrutiny, bringing people in to make us better.
I'm investigator Dave Biskobing, ABC 15, Arizona.
Dave's interview with the city manager was at 11:30 this morning. By 3:30, a spokesperson called to let him know the investigation would be expanding. We're told 13 officers are under investigation. We have also requested an interview with the police chief, but the city says they want that to wait until after their investigation.
Oh, God, we are running out of time tonight, y'all. This ends in like 17 minutes, so I can't even say everything I want to say about that BS that we just saw. Like, that was the most disgusting political soft shoe. That was the most, like, an elephant in tap shoes, disgusting soft shoe I have ever seen in my life. It's like he had no idea what to say. It was just a spewage of, business as usual, practice and rehearsed responses to anything that felt uncomfortable. Like, he doesn't give a crap about any of this at all. He really wants it to go away, and he only did that interview because he was called out, and his city is on blast right now, and he had to say something. And this isn't I'm not an attorney, and I am not a journalist. I'm just an American citizen seeing some BS before my eyes. But I said I wasn't going to talk too much. I'm really going to stop because we have very little time, and I have to clarify something. So it seems from what we just saw, if you don't know the organization of the city of Phoenix, it seems like there's like a triangle of power between the MCAO, the cops, and the city manager, and they're all connected somehow. You heard him use the words, "We are not afraid, we are not ashamed, we are not all this." So they're clearly in collusion, but I don't know if people really know what the job of a city manager is. So Joe, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and giving us some understanding about what his role is in all of this.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Zoraida. Yeah, so much fun to, talk about a bureaucrat, but that is who Head Zerker is. He's the city manager. Of course, as you can imagine, he's supposed to manage the city. That's kind of the idea. I think what's important to know about Zerker's role is why that is so powerful. right? Why is that role so powerful? And I think the easiest way to understand it is that he should be the filter for what's happening in the city to those people with power, right, with city council. And so he gets to be the filter of like what's priority, what's on fire, what's doing, right? And a lot of managed. They rely on his narrative to make decisions on where to spend money. And the other thing that the city manager is he actually is an employer, right? He's the one who hires pretty much everyone else in the city, right? So the city manager, he is the sole employee of council, right? So council only manages, supposedly, the city manager. The city manager hires everybody else in the city, including the police chief, right? But any department head, right? Anyone that is managing an entire area of the city, like the Phoenix Police Department, they're hired directly by Ed Zerker. And so his hiring ability and his ability to give the narrative to council as to what the state of the city is what makes him so powerful. And it's to be the one who a lot of sets the agenda. And so that's a little bit about who it is.
So, Joe, we elect the county supervisors, correct? Or the city?
We elect the county.
Sorry, the city.
We do.
Right. We elect them, and then they are the ones who choose the person who's in the role of Ed Zerker. So then, if we think he's doing a crap job, which it's clear that we want him gone, how do we hold him accountable to his job if we are not the ones, like, if we're not electing him in that space? How do we hold him accountable?
Right. So I think that's a really important question, right? Because I think part of it is we see how little accountability someone in his role wants to do about this issue, right? How much they just want to like, no, not an issue until someone tells me it's an issue, right? But until the investigations are done, right? Whatever that means. And I think it's really important to like break that down, because what seems so rational and so clear to us, like that's just not the way power works. And so I want to share with you, there's my dog. I want to share with you a statistic from a 2015 to 2019 fair housing study in the city of Phoenix. And it said we are the most segregated as a city we have been in the last 30 years, with white communities being the most segregated demographic in the city. The alarming issue, and it's leading to all kinds of challenges. Now, did that report make the connection to the district policing and the way policing has what seems to be two very different? Those are two very different narratives, and I think it's really important to recognize that is how our city is structured. And the people who have the whitest part of our city, the areas that are most segregated, right? Because white people are the most segregated in our city, are the white council members. Sal DeCiccio, right? You think of all white Tukey, right? But like these are areas that, like, you know, these are areas full of whiteness. And so Sal DeCiccio, Jim Waring, Zelda Williams, Stark, they represent the overwhelmingly white side of the city. And if that narrative is that public safety is there to protect and serve, and that's what they're doing, right? That's the narrative that they're going to continue to hold. And if that is also who is in majority, because you think of the only other white person on that council is Kate Gallego, right? The city,
mayor.
Oh my gosh, what's the word? Yeah, there we go. The mayor. There we go. Thinking of all these bureaucrats, right? This is a council that's dominated by whiteness. And unfortunately, Ed knows how to count to 5, right? He knows how to count to 5. And those are the people who hold him accountable. Ed Zerker is the city council that's already super politicized, right? Doesn't want to listen to each other. You know, we can start to see the ways in which it's really easy for someone in Ed's position to just say, well, this is not a big priority, even though we've been showing up, you know, month after month, year after year, right, saying this is an issue. It's really easy when you can just invisibilize Black communities, right? When you can invisibilize undocumented communities, unsheltered communities, even when they're there in the room. And I think a lot of us have started to feel that in a different way. And so that's why he's able to continue to just, no whiteness, or I'm sorry, I don't get to see anything. I don't see color, and nor do I see, a systemic problem. These are just bad apples. But I also want to say, this is also what gets us Black police chiefs, right? This is what gets us identity politics over actual representation of the issue.
They're just band-aids.
And I think that's the reason.
Right.
Absolutely. And these politics and these dynamics around race are very real. And until we can actually grapple with these things, it's always going to be hard to hold Ed or any other bureaucrat accountable to the violence that. So just wanted to put this out there. Now, how do we hold them accountable then? What do we got to do? I think it's important that this is part of what political solidarity is, right? When you show up to the meetings and you fill out your comment cards and you show up to publicly speak and refuse to allow voices and issues become invisible, when you refuse to do that, that is a major disruption. And the more that we can build solidarity with those communities supposed to be invisible in our community. Right? There's a whole other half of templates that frankly comes from, mixed backgrounds. The city, just like I do. And it's that internalized racism is a real thing. And if we're always moving at the speed of white comfort, then we have to recognize people are dying as a result. And so the more that we can invite who think that none of this has, right, that this doesn't have anything to do with me, right, the more that we can invite them into a conversation for why it is all of our responsibility to make visible the parts of our community that this machine, the city, the state is trying to make invisible, the more that we could say everyone's responsibility to push against that, to disrupt that, then we will start to see accountability. And it'll start with Ed Circa, right? It'll start with these little jobs that is really nothing more than a major disruption. But disruptions are really important if we want to have different kinds of conversations. And so that's what I'll add. Thank you, Zoraida.
Thank you. No, I really wanted to ask you another question about his connection to police, but we're kind of out of time. So maybe at the next Politically Charged, we'll jump into that, if that's okay. Thank you, Joe. Patricia, do you want to talk about our call to action?
I do.
What a question, right?
And what a beautiful segue, Joe, talking about how it is all of our responsibility to make sure what really matters is being held at the forefront of people's attention who can easily avoid it because of their privilege and how white supremacy affords us that luxury. But we're like, nope, we are working for Black liberation because we know that is mass liberation. So get out your pencils or your little iPhone calendar because we have super fun, amazing, wonderful events coming up. And we want to see all of you there. And we want to see all of your friends, all of your family, all of your coworkers. And you can bring your pets too. They are welcome. So we have coming up this week, it's due by Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Your first assignment is to get that bit.ly that Ria dropped in the chat. It's bit.ly/Phoenix Demands. And that is where you will get directions. We're asking everybody and like 5 of your friends to go and drop our 9 demands into the public safety agenda items that are on the formal city council meeting this Wednesday, March 3rd at 2:30 p.m. MassLib is not going to that council meeting. There's 67 agenda items. We're not showing up because we're trying to reserve our energy for the struggle that continues, but we are asking you to share that widely. Tell your friends to copy paste. That's all you have to do for agenda items 33 and 34. It couldn't be easier. So share that bit.ly with everyone you know. Then on Thursday, we have our Drop the Charges text bank. You can join us from 4:30 to 6:30. We are texting folks, asking them to sign our petition to make sure that all 9 of our demands are heard. There's a link for that. It's the Text Bank DTC, and I know Ria's dropping that in the chat for you as well.
Fatima.
Oh, Fatima is, thank you, Ria, for making that labor visible. And then last but not least, Jonah, this one's for you. We do have on March, well, 2 more things, but I'll do March 17th first, and then we'll go back. March 17th at 10 a.m., that is the land use and livability, I think is what the subcommittee is called. It's 10 a.m. March 17th. And we need you there because that is where everyone that read their citizens petition last Wednesday is going to defend the citizens petition this time around. So we're going to strategize on what support is needed, and we'll let you all know. And then March 10th, next Wednesday at 9 a.m., we have the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee meeting where they will be talking about the Brady list. I don't know who, probably Assistant City Manager Jeff Barton, or who knows, someone's gonna come in and give a sloppy PowerPoint about what that is. So we'll be sure to be there to disrupt that. We are 1 minute over, so I'm gonna stop talking. I think I shared all the info. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat or text or email me because we're always here for you. We love and appreciate you all so much.
Thank you, Patricia. That's not very much stuff that we're asking folks to get involved in. You're not busy right now, are you, sis? All right, y'all, if you have any questions, like Patricia said, about dates and times of things, please drop it in the chat now because we'll review it in a second, or email or call or text Patricia, and we'll be happy to get you the most pertinent information. We are over time, so I just want to thank you all so much for coming here and for watching this junk with us and creating a nest of safety for us to be able to explore such things. Thank you to Heather, our, as Patricia said, resident attorney, for coming to clarify some of this legal jargon that none of us really care to know. And thank you for writing that big, long document that's going to make these people accountable to us. I appreciate your time and energy, and I appreciate you for what you do, because girl, I couldn't do it. Thank you to MassLib family, to Joe and Patricia for imparting your loveliness, and we'll see y'all next time. If you want to hang out and there's going to be some music playing so you can decompress, feel free to stay for a minute. And sending y'all MassLib love, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you back here next week. So hard to find. Just when you think you. That's why I love the moon. Every night it's there for you. It's constant. Unlike these human beings who lie about what it seems to be. You think the earth is where you stand. You're in the palm of someone's hand. And that's why I love the moon. 'Cause it's always there for me. Every night about my window. And that's why I love the moon. 'Cause it's always there for me. Every single night I look outside. It's right there for me. In my mind. And that's why I love the moon, yeah. Because people can consume my love in the wrong way. So I send it up. At night, at night, at night. Real love so hard to find. Just when you think you found it, the illusions in your eyes, it blinds. So be careful where you look for love. Just be careful where you look for love. Real love so hard to find. Just when you think you found it, the illusions in your eyes, it blinds.
lose us all. So be careful where you look for love. Just be careful where you look for love.
Yeah. That's why I let the moon shine. Cause through the time I've been confused on how to move. Stuck in between what wasn't and what could be the truth, huh? Still up trying to escape these demons in my room. You see, it's no change, dropping, we learn to maintain. And how could anybody else prepare when they brainwash us and watch us every time we make exchanges? A slave locked in a box and use our minds just to